What's raging, gamers? Welcome to Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. How you doing, HenricK the Wreck?
You know me, Chris. I'm here. I'm ready. It's time to rage.
Man, we got such a jam-packed show for everybody that's tuning in live every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because without your support, gamers, this show would not be possible. But we always like to start off the show with a bang and show you guys a lot of viral content that is circulating all across the World Wide Web. And oh boy, there was a lot of goodies. So let's get it. 1047 Games co-founder Ian hit the Summer Game Fest stage like a flashbang at a LAN party. You might be wondering what the hell was going on. Well, let me tell you, HenricK, wasn't it quite blinding, bold, and loud? Well, if you haven't seen the clip, this man was firing shots at the state of online shooters. He even name-dropped Call of Duty, proving once and for all that Splitgate 2 isn't here to play nice. It's here to basically no-scope the status quo.
When we started Splitgate in our dorm room, we just wanted to make a game we could play with our friends, and 20 million of you played with us. Now, with the help from our amazing community, we've built Splitgate 2. Why? Because I grew up playing Halo, and I'm tired of playing the same Call of Duty every year, and I wish we could have Titanfall 3.
You know, the message is there, and I'm with him. I'm with him. I do want better FPS games, but I don't know if Splitgate 2 is the one. What are these comments saying, Chris?
Well, I do. What I gotta say is, like, I get what he's saying. Like, obviously, he name dropped at the same time. There was he wanted Titanfall 3. Obviously, the gameplay is very fast paced. It's a whole lot of fun. But the thing that drives me a little nuts about it is, it's like once they introduced the whole battle royale, which was obviously a cool fun addition, some gamers would also cloud him and say, like, that's what's the problem with FPS online shooters, that there's already too much battle royale. So like that trend, hopping on that's pretty lame. And then their monetization is a bit of a problem. I mean, come on, like, you're gonna be paying $35 for a white portal that essentially doesn't increase your gameplay or make you any better at the game. So yeah, that's lame. But let's go ahead and dive right into the comments, because I'm sure they're going to be electrifying. Yep, see, there you go. There is nothing micro about $100 in in-game purchase or macro transactions. Yeah, that's going to be the problem to try to keep the longevity around, because if that's how they feel is gonna progress the game and keep it alive, it might be the next X Defiant. I mean, clearly Apex Legends feels like they gotta go through a 2.0. They're freaking out behind the scenes. So what do you gotta say, HenricK?
Yeah, $30 is not a cheap, like, in-game cosmetic or anything like that. It's basically the price of some games nowadays, actually. From like the AA and indie scene, at least. So
yeah, they're going, well, if everybody can start fluctuating prices from $40 to $80 games, why can't we do it? But then you also get comments like this. Comes out wearing a hat that I'll decide the player base, says he hates games being the same all the time, wants Titanfall 3, then proceeds to announce the very thing that killed Titanfall 3. A battle royale, right after saying they're going to make an FPS great again and saying that games are all the same. They make a mode that's been overdone for decade and release the trailer to Imagine Dragons. Okay, Imagine Dragons. And then a release $80 microtransactions. He's trying his best to kill his own game. Yeah, I kind of laughed at his response, because he made it try to turn it into like something political, just because he used the lame cliche, make America great again, and then, turn it into that. I don't think anybody was clouding him about that. It was more about, like, you're not backing what everybody else is hating about today's online shooters, which is this, like, over-daunting microtransactions and every little thing that comes with the FPS shooter. And then look at this comment. He tried too hard to be like Joseph Ferris and ended up looking like a tool. So, I mean, not everybody can come across.
He wishes he could be that guy. That guy is just straight up wholesome. Doesn't even care about the online noise. He just knows he's doing a good job.
Exactly, HenricK. Well, man, gamers, back before online matchmaking, we had to earn our wins the old-fashioned way, by physically blocking the screen with the pillow during Halo sleepover so no one could screen cheat. But nowadays, the random dude online has no clue what tricks you've got up your hidden sleeve or sleeves, whatever, but you get to buckle up for a trip down memory lane, because I'm telling you right now, this is like a wink at the digital chaos that you might also be experiencing on your end.
Amor, ¿qué vas a hacer? Tiraste golazo, ¿eh?
¿Para qué es eso?
Tiraste golazo. Tírate golazo.
¿Estás seguro que lo vas a meter desde ahí?
Tírate golazo. Son técnicas que no sabes. Mira.
¿Estás seguro? Ay, no. Yo no creo que funcione.
This must be the FIFA equivalent of putting a little red dot on your monitor when you're playing a game that doesn't have a reticle.
Right, yeah, exactly. Someone gets a little piece of tape, so you don't want to ruin your monitor, right? You get a little piece of tape, you get the little Sharpie. You don't have to. You can do technically no scopes, and then you look really, really cool on your YouTube channel or your Twitch stream because you got all these cool highlight clips of you never having to look down the aim button. We hear you, fam, but sometimes you never know what people can go. But sometimes desperate measures call for desperate times, and clearly. Let's save that for the workforce, okay? Not for video games. But let's dive right on into the comments. No! Off to the boot camp already. I love how EA Sports found this clip and how to respond
the
to
official Twitter account.
They're like,
or rather Instagram account, actually.
Right, exactly. And he goes, bro, I watched thinking I was about to learn something. I did too. I got finessed. Did anybody else get finessed when you were watching that?
Hey, it looked like he was going to do something, and then he didn't succeed. So
yeah, maybe he didn't have a long enough measuring tape. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, blame it on the tools,
Or maybe he needs to go back to preschool and go get the yardstick, right? Maybe that thing was moving a little bit too much. And then this is like playing 8-pool. Laughing my ass off. Yeah, that's very true, right? Everybody likes to do that.
Imagine taking a measuring tape out to your phone to play 8-pool.
Yeah, or just doing that in general if you go to your local bar.
Or even better.
You're like, I think that's a pretty good 45-degree angle shot. Let's get it. But sometimes the patches, updates, they come through. Everybody's trying to build up the experience of the online gameplay, right? Not everybody can be as beautiful. I know Call of Duty kind of struggles with this a little bit, and recently with a lot of cheaters, a lot of scammers out there. But I know popular streamer Ninja's going viral recently because he just rage quit Marvel Rivals, not because he lost, but because the community's apparently more radioactive than the Hulk's laundry. So he says it's no longer fun and it's too toxic, which is a streamer speak for I'd rather fight lag in a Wi-Fi McDonald's lobby. You know what I mean? Instead of playing this shit. So instead of me speaking for him, let's just give a little bit of a glimpse because it was about 4 minutes long, but we kind of cut it down to give you guys an idea about what Ninja is talking about with the state of Marvel Rivals.
Day in and day out, just getting stream sniped for players obviously trying to get on my team and also against my team, against me. The target bans. That stuff was all minor. I think in the end, I think it was just the toxicity of your actual teammates towards me that just sent me over the edge. I would end every stream in just the worst mood.
I feel for him, especially with him being such a big name. He definitely gets a lot of stream snipers and people just calling him out, calling him trash and everything. But at the same time, maybe that is a chance for you to just take a step back and be like, am I taking this a little too seriously?
Okay, I like that approach. Yeah, because I was going to say, this is a very... Not every gamer is going to experience what Ninja's going through, right? And so, maybe you have to take a time to reflect. I mean, a lot of the videos that I see with Ninja is him going barbaric and going crazy.
He's kind of crazy on people.
Right. He kind of comes across a bit toxic towards his own streamer buddies, but maybe that's playful banter because that's his friend circle. But then you get random people that get to obviously join in on the voice comms, and then they kind of start to turn it into a family stab or whatever. And then I can get how that can be really come on, man. I just want to have a good outing in Marvel Rivals. But let's see what gamers have to say about Ninja's response. Dude is the biggest baby in all of streaming. And it's funny too, because even when I heard this response from Ninja HenricK, it makes me go back and think about XQC's famous clip when it first got going. He's like, don't jump into a rank match if you're not ready to be a team player. If not, I'm going to call you out. I feel the same way when I play Fortnite. I feel like I've said this numerous times on Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show, but if I hear a 12-year-old or younger in a rank match in Fortnite, I'm gonna absolutely lose my shit. You know what I mean? It's you have no business being in my squad, okay? No business. So I might come across as the biggest baby, even though I might be the oldest adult in the squad lobby. And then the next comment is, no, he's right. Rivals is tilted experience because it's a team game where nobody wants to play like a team. Well, yeah, I mean, sometimes, you know, there's going to be a certain character that maybe you're just constantly spawning to, right? I mean, but then again, what do you see might be the biggest issue, HenricK?
That's unfortunately just how team-based games in 2025 are. You know, it could happen in any team-based game where there's
very true.
You can't expect every match to have people that want to cooperate as a team, because there's always going to be that chance that somebody's going to be the outlier and be like, nah, I don't think I should play a healer when we need a healer. I think I'm
you know what? It sounds like you're defending Elden Ring Nightreign, you know, having no voice comm. No, just kidding. You know, like, it's like, how do you have a team building experience and then, you know, and then not be able to have a good communication skills? I get it. It's totally a real thing. But then crashes out on friends every time he plays and takes zero accountability for losses, blames the game. Something similar to what we were both saying, right?
I know. Honestly, that is the kind of game you have to just take a step back and be like, all right, that game sucked, but what can I do better next time?
What can I do better next time? Hey, we all learn from, you know, each gameplay experience. HenricK the Wreck, are you ready to rock and roll, my friend? Because we got a lot of things to discuss on today's episode.
Oh, yeah. Grab your runes, because we're going back to the lands between.
Hey everyone, this is Pause or Repeat. Here we figure out whether a game is really worth your time and money. Today's game is Elden Ring Nightreign. Elden Ring Nightreign is FromSoftware's return to the world of Elden Ring, but with a multiplayer twist. While the game does not have the same director as the original, it still holds the weight of being named Elden Ring. So with these expectations in mind, let's start to go over the gameplay and see what they cooked up for us. The gameplay of Elden Ring Nightreign can be best described as Elden Ring if it was a multiplayer roguelike. First, you pick a Night Lord you want to fight. Then you pick a character out of 8 and go on an expedition. Expeditions are your roguelike run and are on a time limit of 3 days. Your goal for the first 2 days is to roam around the map to as many points of interest as you can within the time limit before fighting a boss to end the day. Some bosses in this game are familiar if you played previous FromSoftware titles, but there are many new bosses as well. Overall, it is a different experience than the usual Souls-likes FromSoftware puts out, especially due to the multiplayer aspect, though you can play it solo. Now, considering this is an Elden Ring game, where does the story fit in for this? Elden Ring Nightreign takes place in the same universe as base Elden Ring. However, this is an alternate timeline story. Each Nightfarer is summoned to the Round Table Hold to gather their forces and dismantle the Reign of Night by defeating the Night Lords. Much of the story is told from the perspective of each Nightfarer as they write in their journal and regain their memories that were lost. Will the Nightfarers be successful in defeating the Night Lords forever, or is there more at play here? But now the question still stands. Pause or repeat?
If you don't hate your friends already, this is a perfect game for you. Because by the end of your gaming session, you might have thrown some obscenities at each other. Just a little bit.
Yeah, what a hell of an opening. I love it. Yeah, the sun's gone, the nightmare's clocked in, and grab 2 friends who hopefully won't die instantly. So we obviously know who not to play with. HenricK the Wreck. No, I'm just kidding. He needs all the support that he can use in Nightreign, because I felt, trust me, HenricK, I felt the same way. Elden Ring Nightreign is FromSoftware's latest attempt to stress me out in co-op, okay? Like, this standalone spinoff takes place in Limbuild. It's a cursed remix of Limgrave where, you know, the night never ends and everything, and I mean everything, wants to kill you. I mean, the map's doing whatever it wants, and you've got 2 in-game days to stop a Night Lord from turning your party into a permanent campfire story, which, yeah, there's going to be a lot of spoken tales about me because I keep dying and dying over again.
Yeah, it is a bit of a different pace than what maybe you're going to be used to from Elden Ring or the Dark Souls games or even Bloodborne, because you have a time limit. You can't just be like, okay, there's a group of enemies here, I'm gonna take out these over here. No, you kind of just gotta rush in for the boss and hope for the best. And that is why it's maybe not that great of an experience sometimes when you're playing solo, because the camps are not made to be tackled by one person. You can do it, if you're smart about it, especially. But really, when you got like 8 different enemies on you and you're one person, that's a little difficult. And it's not just a skill issue. It's the design of the game is not.
What I was gonna tell you though, HenricK, is I feel like FromSoftware was thinking about us a little bit in a sense, where they did take out one of the hardest bosses in their studio's history, and I would say that would be fall damage. You know what I mean?
True.
Like, we turned it into Apex Legends here. I mean, parkour, and like no haystack. You know,
Yeah.
What does Assassin's Creed got on Nightreign? You know what I mean? Like, you'll be totally fine out there. But you're so right. I mean, this time around, you know, you get to choose from 8 different Nightfarers. I mean, each with their own passive character skill and ultimate move. I mean, there's no real fiddling about with the spell stats, which is very, very nice. And if one of my teammates drops, I can literally punch them back to life, which reminds me of like
frustrating sometimes, mind you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, I mean, HenricK, you know, it's kind of reminded me, you know, every time I have to, you know, like to punch somebody to bring them back to life, kind of reminds me of when you forget to eat those Snickers, right? It's like those commercials. You're not you when you're not hungry. Or no, I just totally butchered it. And so how does it go again? It goes, you're not you when you're hungry, right? It's something along those lines.
Yeah.
So, no, I mean, that was kind of a funny addition. It kind of reminded me of like those V8 commercials, like, psh, you know, you're not being yourself. But like, what did you tend to find yourself leaning towards when you were looking at the Nightfarers? Like, I know for myself, I was scoping out Iron Eye. I mean, he's kind of like that team player with the laser focus. And, you know, he can mark enemies so everyone can hit harder. He can blast the bosses with, you know, a single shot from a far away distance. Because I feel like the melee is still very, very tough in this game.
Well, that's the whole point, you know, Souls-like games. If you're not playing melee, you're not playing it correctly. At least according to the vocal minority of the community. So
I should have been the Wilder the whole time, you know, the jack of all trade, who's you know, built in with an extra life and a grappling
exactly.
hook.
Yeah, but that's the good thing about this game. Yeah, you're not able to craft your own character. You're stuck with the presets of these set characters of 8 to choose from. But at the same time, they all have different kits and abilities to make the experience a little bit different. And not any of them are really like bad per se. It's just some are maybe better than others. You know, Iron Eye's definitely up there in terms of just being a really good choice because he is an archer, so you can, you know, keep your distance from the enemies, and his utility is really good all the dirty work. Exactly. Yeah. Make the melee do the work.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Go let the Raider go run in and hit like a bus and tanks like a bull.
Speaking of Raider, that was my boy.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, I like this Unga Bunga build, as people call it.
How did you feel playing as him in the solo runs? How did you feel
in the solo runs?
Yeah.
Actually, he's pretty good for a solo run because he can take some hits. Yeah. Whereas a lot of the other characters, you know, with the exception of maybe Guardian, they can't really take hits as easily. I mean, Executor, which is the other character I really like playing, he does have that parry mode. It's basically Sekiro mode.
Right.
At the same time, you know, I can be as good as parrying as I want, but going into that mode, you have a DPS loss. So comparing that to Raider, you're smashing people, you're having fun.
Right.
It's a good time, even solo.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like, don't really expect any real story in this game, to be honest with you. I mean, you know, you're not gonna figure out like the whole Golden Order. I mean, save that for A24.
For when they make the Elden Ring movie.
Yeah, right, exactly. let them have some fun with it. You know what I mean? But then, you know, there are plenty of lore, weirdness. I mean, everything's twisted, shifting. You're bathed in permanent moonlight. You know what I mean? And like one moment you're exploring the, you know, the foggy ruin. The next, it feels like the ground itself is holding a grudge on you. And yeah, I felt like it was gorgeous, HenricK. You know, friendly, absolutely not. And while the environments look great, after a few runs, though, don't you feel like it started to, you start to notice like a lot of reused scenery, which I feel like FromSoftware is starting to get really good at mastering recently. And I guess I think that's kind of my issue, though. After a while, it starts to feel repetitive, and then you start to go, yeah, I understand why they justified this to be a $40 launch compared to trying to build this thing up to be like, I don't know, a quadruple A Skull and Bones experience.
Well, at the same time, that is kind of typical for a lot of roguelikes. One that a lot of people have brought up in comparison to the gameplay of Nightreign is Risk of Rain 2, because that is a very good roguelike that people just praise all the time. It's an indie game, mind you, but it's a really good roguelike and basically the golden standard for that genre. And in that game, there are no procedurally generated levels. It's the same levels over and over again. They just get cycled. And what gets cycled is the enemies, which is basically what they've done here. Is, you know, the map will change here and there on each run. And enemy placement will also change. But overall, Limveld is not going to be drastically different every time you go in there, which is actually maybe a benefit because you are on that time limit, and it's a very punishing game if you don't actually make use of that time and you're falling behind on levels and gear. It's not a good time then. So
right, but I don't know. I think I'll harper on that still when it comes to Elden Ring Nightreign. I mean, there still needs more variety. There's the same maps, recycled enemies in a sense, and you know they might have like new patches later on where they go, hey, look, we brought back another old boss from Dark Souls, and if that's cool to you, then great. To me, it's hell.
And that is an opportunity. That is an opportunity they have, is to bring in more bosses that people are either familiar with already from other games in their IP lineup, or just new bosses entirely. They have that opportunity to do that. But I do get what you're saying in terms of the replayability, and there's not a whole lot of progression at the end of the day, unfortunately.
And the thing is, too, even before they even start doing all those kind of cool updates and stuff like that, like they need to fix the matchmaking, because like that could use some love. I mean, no voice chat. There's no backfill when teammates bail, which sucks because you can go 30, 40 minutes in and then all of a sudden one guy drops out and then you have to stick around. And then all of a sudden you don't want to get penalized for in-game because you want to bail out too. And then it sucks because you know you're going to lose. You're not going to get to the Night Lord. And then solo mode still feels like a dare. You know what I mean? And then like also, why does my inventory feel like a mini game alone in itself? I mean, I just feel like I hate sorting through shit. And then just the ability to not have crossplay is a major letdown in Nightreign, because whether FromSoftware knows this or not, the hardest boss ever is having friends. Having friends that want to join you along with Nightreign, and then having to decide what device we're all going to go through. Yes, I have a PC. I could be bitching to the choir, right? But it's a real thing that a lot of gamers, hate, right? I mean, it's no different than like the Nintendo Switch 2 on day one requiring everybody to log into the internet. Like, really? Start playing games? Like, that's kind of lame. So like, first I was maidenless, and now I'm friendless, HenricK.
But overall, I mean, was it a fun game for you? Did you enjoy the time in it, or was it just like, maybe I'll spend my time elsewhere? I won't be to this. What did you think, Chris?
HenricK, there's room to grow. More content, more surprises, and maybe an endless run for those demonic maniacs who carried me throughout each new adventure, and Nightreign will definitely love it, I feel like. But also it's frustrating to have to deal with the repercussions over and over again when a teammate keeps quitting halfway, and maybe that's because I suck at the game. Maybe it's not for me, but I don't know. I'm kind of with you, HenricK. I mean, until then, I don't know if I'll be rising together. I think I'm going to be rage quitting before the second night even begins. So like, it's a pause for me. What do you say, HenricK?
Well, for me, it is a repeat. I do love these games. Maybe call me a masochist for that, but it's just, I really enjoy the Souls-likes that FromSoftware puts out. And yeah, there's this little rough around the edges, and there's some things that could definitely be better, and I hope do get better. But it's a fun time, and I'm having fun with it with my friends. So as long as we're having fun with it, it's going to be repeat for me.
Hey, there we go. It's very split, and that's why we like to keep it real. But what's also great about Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show is we want to know from you, the gamers, how are you vibing so far when it comes to Elden Ring Nightreign? Let us know what's good. But we got so much more here left on Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. So HenricK the Wreck, are you ready to rock and roll, my friend?
Oh yeah, let's get the ball rolling, Chris.
Hey, let's get it. What's good, listeners? Welcome to Patch Notes, where my co-host HenricK and I discuss gaming news, industry talk, and so much more. Let's get it. June is finally here, and for once, the game release calendar isn't a barren wasteland of remasters and regrets. With the Nintendo Switch 2 officially out and already turning up the heat, the month isn't just coasting on new hardware hype either. There's a full roster of games worth sweating over, so let's get it. Mario Kart World just drifted onto the Switch 2 as its flagship launch title, and unless the entire planet suddenly agrees on boycotting price tags, it's probably going to define the system for years. So imagine Burnout Paradise meets Forza Horizon. Yeah, they got that open world aesthetic, but with red shells and banana peels and rail grinding and boat racing and chaos for up to 24 players. So buckle up, because Rainbow Road just got way more crowded.
You know, at least they made some changes this time around. It's not the entire just slapped on new number Mario Kart all over again.
Yeah, when the Tony Hawk Pro Skater did I see?
Yeah. Isn't it crazy, though, that there's some people out there that this is the only Switch 2 game they have?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's really wild about it. I mean, as much as like I can't stand the idea of Nintendo moving forward with $80 digital releases and then physical, you got to pay an extra $10, making it $90. But Nintendo fans definitely showed up. I mean, they sold within the first 4 days 3.5 million units worldwide, making it the fastest selling video game console of all times. That is incredible. And so clearly I feel like the Mario Kart World hype is very much real. People are very excited, and great news, it's out now on Nintendo Switch 2 day one. So that is very, very exciting. And I know there's a lot of new characters, a lot of new cosmetics out there. And yeah, you know, I you know, as much as like I be clowning them all the time, you can't deny the hype train. It's very much real. And is that something that you can't wait to get your hands on, HenricK?
I think I can wait, personally.
But if you have the chance, you know,
Mario Kart.
Right, you're saying, yeah, I don't want to purchase it, but like, if someone else, you know, buy it, so then I can come over to your house and then we can play it all the time. Okay, cool.
Well, it is a party game, basically. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of funny seeing the the game chat being used in play when it comes to Mario Kart World, and and then you're throwing like a blue shell at somebody, and then you're seeing their little icon, spin out on the video chat. That's really fun. But man, they got a lot of work to do when it comes to the game chat. It's horrendous. Like, I'm noticing a lot of streamers out there having to utilize their own streamer gear, like this microphone, instead of actually using the microphone in the device, because it picks up all the ambient noise from around you. So yeah, what do you expect? But then again, if this game is for you, great news. It is out today on Nintendo Switch 2. And another game you definitely got to keep your eyeballs on is what the team behind Sifu has been cooking up. And yes, the martial arts brawler is now making a soccer game, because why not kick a ball after kicking people? Their new game Rematch tosses out the rule book. No offsides, no fouls, no out of bounds, and matches last just 6 minutes. It's fast, it's chaotic, and basically what soccer would look like if John Wick's stunt team choreographed the game for the developers. So if you haven't seen the game play, let's go ahead and take a look.
Maybe FIFA has some actual competition this time. Or sorry, FIFA doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Well, we all got what you meant. Yeah, I was actually thinking more along the lines of Rocket League. Does Rocket League actually got some competition? But then my first reaction too is like, I can't wait. The gameplay looks super, super exciting. But then I'm wondering, like, what's the lure to keep you returning? Is it going to be that arcade-like style of gameplay that's like, you know, the 6-minute experience being like, you know what, that was satisfying? Because not all of us have time in the world to be playing, you know, 2 or 3 hours in a single player experience, right? You know, these open world games are getting increasingly massive over the years. And so with Rematch, that's kind of exciting. But then you look at some of the character models and you go, looks a tad lame. And I'm wondering if they're going to, like, you know, partner a little bit in a sense with like maybe trying to bring some of your favorite iconic video game characters in it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, remember like a Hot Shot brought in Kratos and you're thinking, what in the world? I would have never thought Kratos would have showed up in Hot Shot. Like, do stuff like that. Maybe bring Sifu in the game, and then that could like really add to like kind of just the quirkiness that I think, you know, gravitates with people like Fortnite, right? You know, people like to jump in with Master Chief and go, hell yeah, man, this is dope. I'm bringing my favorite iconic characters with me. I don't know. That's just an idea. That's not knocking anything with what Rematch is going to be offering to gamers out there. So I know I definitely want to get my hands on it. I cannot wait to play this game. And it launches on PS5, PC, and Xbox Series XS on June 9th. And the last game that you definitely got to keep on your radar for June 2025 is Kojima Productions has a habit of leveling up with sequels, and Death Stranding 2 on the beach looks ready to keep that streak running, or walking, or slowly climbing up a hill, or falling, or carrying your luggage, whatever it is. And so hopefully with fewer rocks and more reasons to punch ghosts, right? And so this time they're claiming that it's going to be beefier combat, more gadgets, and environments that go beyond just an Icelandic hiking simulator. So with plenty of the weird story beats and Kojima's signature brand of what the hell did I just watch kind of energy, this sequel's shaping up to be another beautiful, bonkers spectacle. So let's go ahead and take a look at the gameplay.
Maybe this one will not be seen by a majority of gamers as a walking simulator, at least because the first one kind of is for the first about 10 hours, right?
Yeah, probably like the first 4, I'd say for sure. And I think that was a problem because, you know, we've spoken about this numerous seasons when Death Stranding does kind of come along with, you know, different conversations over the years. And yeah, I'm with you. Like, this was a game, but well, the first one, I played it and I didn't quite get it at first. And then I walked away for it almost like 6 months. And then I replayed it. And then it was like, once it really starts to open up, you're like, wow, now I'm really starting to understand the hype. And I'm with you. Like, that's the only thing I'm a little concerned when it comes to Death Stranding 2 on the beach, is that hopefully it really kicks off with a bang. You know, you already know it's going to be a heavy dialogue
anymore.
I mean, I think they said they were claiming that there's going to be like 4.5 hours of cutscenes. I could be totally wrong on this. I could have swore that's what I was reading online, and if that's the case, I love a really good cinematic experience, and I think Death Stranding 2 warrants that, because the first one was so excellent, and I really have no idea how they're going to go and approach this one. Matter of fact, I really don't know, because like the ending of the first game really left it on kind of like a cool cliffhanger that, you know, it kind of makes you have to answer it for yourself. In a sense, it kind of left you stranded, right? And so I think, you know, that's what's going to be really cool about, you know, on the beach. And are you going to be trying to jump along? I know the thing is, though, HenricK, you know, you're going to have to get that PS5.
The PS5 exclusive.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I don't have one. I don't really have a need.
I mean,
for
it's
one.
not kind of wild. I mean, if we're always caught in Nintendo. We're like, oh my gosh, they're the only ones with the exclusivity, and like we thought that was all done. I thought the console wars were dead. No, apparently not. PS5 and Sony want to keep Death Stranding 2 on the PS5 for now, and then wait another 2 years, and then it'll show up on the PC. But it's going to be launching on June 26th, so I cannot wait. for the Anarchy, man. It's going to be a blast of a time. And was that Solid Snake or was that just homage? Who knows? But Henrik, let's start to switch gears because I know we got a lot to discuss here on patch notes.
Yes. So Microsoft just announced the ROG Xbox Ally and Ally X handhelds because apparently they got jealous of everyone else making mini consoles you can accidentally drop on your face in bed because they are pretty heavy. Well, launching later this year with AMD guts, tons of RAM, and a 7-inch 120 hertz screen, yes, these bad boys are ready to make your thumbs sweat. So let's take a look.
It's funny that you said that. I'm shocked I haven't chipped the tooths, but but maybe it's this rubber casing I got on my iPhone. Let's go ahead. Let's check it out.
Basically looks like a console, or rather a screen with some controllers, right? But whether you're a casual button masher or a frame rate snob, these handhelds are aiming to please. So let's see what gamers have to say about Xbox's first handheld console.
Yeah, let's go ahead and dive right on in. So the first one says, Xbox gamers in 2025. Yeah, we are eating very well. Is that my Krabby Patty? Yeah, we're serving. We're cooking it up. So yeah, as you can see, the Xbox Game Pass, Steam, Battle.net, xCloud, even PlayStation games showing up. Yeah, I know that was big conversations, especially since, you got the Xbox PC Game Pass and Epic Games. Yeah, it definitely seems like it's a bit promising. What do you say about, just being able to console all this all together in one device?
Well, when it's a PC, you can, and it is a PC. So.
So you kind of, it kind of sounds like you're like, I get that it has the name Xbox in it, but I think I'm going to call it a Windows handheld for now.
Because it is.
Ooh, and then goddamn modern handheld devices look so generic, repetitive, and ugly. I really miss the design of the Sony's PSP. I felt there was a bit of a missed opportunity. I was a bit surprised that they chose the cliche white and black layout. I mean, why not make a see-through green Xbox? You know what I mean?
Like how they used to make see-through electronics back in like the early 2000s and late 90s.
Yeah, like I'm looking at the image in the top right corner. I'm like, that would have been super freaking cool. Like I remember they used to have with the Nintendo 64s, they had that feature.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought that would have been really, really cool. I don't know why we got rid of that stylistic approach. You don't even see it in controllers nowadays anymore. Maybe they don't want you to see it.
Probably not.
Flaws. And then the next comment we got here is, people who think the Xbox Ally is just a rebranded Ally, or is it Ally or Ally? What are we calling it now?
Ally, you're my ally.
You're my ally. And then need to think about the potential for improving the Windows experience on PC handheld devices. That's where the magic happens. Hardware is one thing, but it's UX that makes the hardware sing.
True.
Does that resonate with you? Okay,
yes. Yes, it does. Because the hardware could be the greatest thing ever, but if it's just not fun to use and not an enjoyable experience, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, not comfortable. I think that's kind of the wonkiness a little bit in a sense. I know Nintendo Switch gamers have gotten comfortable with it over the years. But every single time I grab a Switch, or even like the Switch 2, it's like the joystick's high and then the right side's lower, and you're like, what the hell? But I don't know. That sounds like a what? Skill issue. I know, I can admit it. And then we get this. We got the ROG Xbox Ally. Quick summary: Xbox PC, customized Windows 11 for gaming. It's got a direct full screen Xbox experience, full controller navigation, and more. Aggregated PC gaming library, giving quick access to games from Xbox Game Pass, Battle.net, Steam, and more. Includes PlayStation games on Steam. Seamless integration of Play Anywhere and Xbox Game Pass, both native play and cloud play. Dedicated Xbox button opens an enhanced game bar, which is on the top left side of the device. And also every device ships with Xbox Game Pass. Two options, the value of, the Xbox Ally and Enthusiast that will want to get, you want to feel the rumble. So you have to go with the Ally. I keep saying Ally. Ally X.
Ally. Yep.
And they're saying it's going to be coming during the holidays 2025. No release date has been leaked or even discussed or even hinted at as of this time. But let's keep things moving. The next one that we got here sees the new Xbox handheld. Looks at the Switch 2. I don't want to play with you anymore. I don't know. I mean, this does come across as like a very, very funny tweet, but like, I had to do some research because I was really amazed, HenricK. Really, really amazed that the Nintendo Switch 2, 4 days into the launch, sold 3.5 million units worldwide. That makes it the fastest selling video game console of all times. And then that made me wonder, what is the rest of this Windows handheld market when it comes to competing with Nintendo? It's about roughly 6 million units sold. And so I'm starting to wonder, like, now that it's Xbox branded, do you feel like people will be a little bit more comfortable to buy these devices, or do you feel like the overall community of gamers still have a lot of questions and a little bit of hesitancy to even want to make this purchase?
Well, it's still a bit of a niche device. It can't really compete with a full-on console just yet. At least maybe this might be the difference, but based on the specs, I'd say probably not. Really either with a full-on PC, because it's running a PC experience technically, but it doesn't have the power of a PC, and it doesn't have the power of a console with the optimization and the experience of with console exclusives and everything. So it's in that middle ground where it's like a supplementary device almost. These handhelds have to be.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I feel you on that one, especially since 2 weeks ago we were talking about how Apple's starting to get into the game with, trying to take gaming a little bit more seriously. And, I even suggested at one point that I wouldn't be surprised if Apple's currently trying to work on like a backbone style controller. And maybe that might be the niche to try to open up this world and try to get the next generation, maybe even the old stubborn gamers, to maybe actually go, this might actually be kind of cool though. Now I get to actually play a multitude of different games, not just locked to, I don't know, Switch 2 obviously in this tweet is the example of choice. And then the last one that we got here is the Xbox showcase. PS5, 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 PS5. What's a PS5 here? PS5. You get a PS5. It was like the Oprah Winfrey show. So like people were like, kind of caught in like Sony in a sense. Is like, what's the point of even getting your devices anymore when I can play a lot of these kind of style of things on my new fancy handy dandy Xbox Windows handheld device? But HenricK, I want to know from you, is Xbox first handheld about to change the game forever, or just Microsoft showing up late to the handheld party with goodies that nobody really asked for?
Well, I am at this point a Linux gamer. I've switched over to Linux as my primary gaming operating system on my desktop. So Windows, I mainly left behind for just work and the odd game that doesn't work on Linux. So this is actually a bit of an interesting conversation to bring up in that respect, because I'm not alone in thinking that Windows has been dragging behind in terms of actually giving you a good experience, not just on handhelds, but just for gaming in general, because there's a lot of stuff that's running in the background that you don't really need on a Windows handheld especially. And if you've ever touched any Windows handheld and tried to use it, that is a terrible experience, just because Windows is not made for a touchscreen handheld device like that. And, hey, if they saw the success of the Steam Deck, which I will say is a relative success for a handheld because it's only sold at most around 4 million compared to how you were saying the Switch is sold already 3.5 million. So it's successful in the handheld space for handheld PC gaming, but handheld consoles, it's still got a ways to go. But if they have been looking at the Steam Deck and been like, you know what, that did really well, we need to do something on our platform, Windows, and then they're actually doing something now, because this is, it's technically made by ASUS, but what's really going to be the differing experience for this one is that the operating system is going to be a cut down version of Windows specifically designed for handhelds and for gaming only. pretty much only, at least.
Right.
So it's going to be performing better in theory, and it's going to be a better experience than the current Windows handhelds are from even ASUS. So we'll have to see how that goes, but hey, you know what? Competition is good.
But let me frame it like this to you, though, HenricK. Do you feel like this kind of leap, let's say from like that comment that we were I'm going to go back and reference to, you know, taking that leap from the Switch 2 to, or you can bring the Steam Deck in if you want, to this new Xbox first handheld. Are you not seeing this as like that big leap from like the Game Boy Advance and then being introduced to the PSP? You're like, that was like really a big jump. But like this, it's just kind of like, okay, now you got your hand, in the cookie jar, and we'll just see whether people like oatmeal cookies or would they rather stick to their chocolate and kick out the raisins.
Well, you did bring up the whole thing of brand notoriety, where this is now an Xbox branded console, or handheld rather, because I don't really think it's a console, to be honest. It's really just a PC. But at the same time,
you're basically like it's a Windows Surface, but then they
it is. It basically is just a handheld, a Windows handheld with an Xbox logo on it, and that, to me, at first glance, based on the fact that Xbox maybe doesn't have as much of a big brand name for the go-to choice for consoles anymore, considering that this generation they really lost in the hardware sales compared to their competitors. And then when you also look at the fact that it's not entirely just Xbox on the name, you still have ASUS on there.
Yeah.
So I think that's not Xbox entirely.
No, that's a great point, because Xbox has struggled since the 360 generation, with the Xbox One selling roughly half the units the PlayStation 4, and the Xbox Series XS is selling roughly one console for every 3 PlayStation 5. So like, yeah, this is a great sign for maybe fans of the brand, but overall, will it resonate with the entire gaming community? We are left to have to find out in the holiday
What'll
season,
be
right?
really interesting is if they bring the Windows experience that they're developing for this to the public and say, you know what, if you want to install this on a PC, go ahead. That'll be interesting. So I'll have to keep my eyes on that.
Or your TV device, or maybe they don't want to go that fast. You know, obviously we're starting to see some of these new flat screens start to have, the Xbox Game Pass already has an app ready to rock and roll. Just go to your Best Buy and go buy a knockoff $30 controller, or buy the $70 controller to have the Rumble experience. You know what I mean? But yeah, you're gonna have to wait until the holiday season. We have no idea what the pricing is gonna be like. Compatible accessories, none of that's really out there yet. Pre-orders will come at a later date. Hopefully it doesn't tear our arms and put a hole in our wallets. just to wrap things up, what do you think is the estimate price range that they're going to try to go for this device?
Based on other handhelds of like this nature, probably around $700, $800.
Ooh,
which is kind of pricey, right?
Oh gosh,
if you thought the Switch 2 prices were expensive, ooh, you're in for a treat.
I mean,
boys.
I guess you're right. Yeah, I kept seeing Ally. Why do I keep doing that? Ally X. That's supposed to have like 1 terabyte of storage, right? And I think I just saw Xbox Series X is selling like a storage. I think it's like 4 terabytes of storage. That's like $100 more than the actual console itself. So I think you're actually onto something, HenricK. I think it is going to be a very, very pricey device, and yeah, that's going to hurt. People even want to throw their wallets down on this experience. So yeah, let us know. Are you guys vibing with this? Do you think it's really, really cool? Are you sick and tired of being locked in one position in front of your TV screen? Would you rather like to travel on the go, like we used to try to steal the neighbor's Wi-Fi to try to link into your Medal of Honor front lines on your PSP device? Are you ready for that experience all over again? Let us know what's good. But man, let's start to switch some gears, because this is also another first. So Sony is entering the fight stick arena for the first time with Project Defiant, dropping in 2026, because nothing says next gen like going way back to the arcade buttons. It connects wirelessly to the PS5 with ultra low latency. Or you can go full retro and plug it in like it's 1999, because maybe that's always the safest route, right? You know, wireless, or do you want to keep it to the LAN cable? I think we got to go to 1999. But then it even comes with the sling carry case, because clearly every gamer's dream is to cosplay as a Street Fighter esports coach on the collegiate level. Yes, those kind of jobs are starting to pop up, and they pay you minimum wage. I was very surprised on Indeed.com. But anyways, will you pick up one, or will you leave this nostalgia trip to the past? So if you haven't seen what it looks like, let's go ahead and take a look.
Hey, it looks nice. I'll give it that. It feels like a niche product, though, to be honest.
Yeah, like it definitely does. I mean, it's just like, you know, like cool. Like you've been able to have this before, right?
Yeah,
Like,
especially
it's
when
not
I feel like a lot of people who already have a fight stick have their like go-to brand of like, oh, I like Victrix, or I like what 8-Bit Do's done with their little fight stick, or I made my own. Even, you know, maybe people have done that, and I don't know. We have comments on what
let's
people
talk
think.
about it.
So let's go into those.
I'm sure they're all going to be expressing that kind of similar concern. So,
Yeah.
like this comment reads, "It ain't even enough fighting games for this." Laughing my ass off. So people clearly feel like Sony doesn't offer the arcade experience.
Especially when you consider how many fighting games are PS5 exclusives. Yes, that is the truth.
Well, you know, they got, you know, Tekken's definitely, you know, there. They got Street Fighter, you got Mortal Kombat. They're also talking about, you know, classic editions returning. What about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Or you're going to get some asshole that's going to be on Fortnite that's going to stream clip you, kicking your ass with this new device.
Using this.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very real possibility. And who asked for this again? Yeah, I mean, that's clearly what people are wondering. Then again, you know, Sony is based off in Japan, and Japan definitely does have a long-standing history of fighting style games, you know, being, you know, quite, you know, the mecca of building these, you know, iconic games over the years. And so maybe they felt like, you know, why did we wait so long? And they do have that new fancy looking Marvel fight game that looks pretty badass, and maybe they might want to partner that thing together, and maybe they might make a really cool fancy Marvel Sony collab. Who knows? But
maybe.
let's keep it rolling. Well, Tekken was fun while it lasted. So people actually think with this joystick controller you play better on that compared to controller?
People do buy these fight sticks specifically for that, actually.
I mean, clearly 4,000 people. 4,000 people feel like that's an advantage.
Yeah.
So do you get the advantage when you're playing like a shooting game with that?
Oh, no, not a shooting game. This is really specifically just for fighting games and maybe side-scroller beat-em-ups or something.
Oh my gosh, no wonder my Elden Ring Nightreign experience was so daunting. I needed my PS5 fight stick. Damn it. Why do you have to come in the later years? And then people are always opposed to new ideas. This is actually pretty dope. I mean, yeah, like, why shoot it down before it even drops, you know, right? Like, let's see what happens. Let's see if it's actually a cool thing that can kind of elevate the gaming experience for all gamers, if it doesn't just cost you an arm and a leg. And then the white palm rest is going to have a field trip. Yeah, you know, that's a real thing, because I got the white PS5. Oh my gosh, I don't know what kind of wipe you got to use. I mean, do I got to pull out the dishwasher soap? I mean, what the hell? And I can only imagine with some of you cheeky bastards out there, you need to wash your pits. You need to wash your hands.
I've seen videos of people eating like wings and then touching their controllers. So eating wings and then using this, oh.
Yeah. Maybe they needed to market it behind with Asbon Gold. You know, oh God. But yeah. And then the retail price, $400. So,
I will up you $100 on this.
Ooh, you really think it'd go that high?
Some fight sticks are already $600.
You can get a controller and a screen with them for $299. Fight stick, that much? Maybe they'll do like a 30% or $30 now, $279 with tax, $300 out the door. Even that would sound ridiculous. But HenricK, is Sony's first fight stick about to revolutionize the modern gaming, or just a fancy reminder that your older sister used to button smash you into oblivion at the arcade shops? Like, I know that had to be a real thing.
Yeah, this is it's interesting of a choice for them to do that. It really does spark the idea, like, do you guys have like a fighting game you're working on or something? Because what's the idea behind releasing
what's
this
the
so
draw?
late into the console's life cycle, where you're like, yes, we gotta put out a fight stick because people are gonna want to buy this with our console.
See, I think you might actually be onto something.
That buy them in the first place.
Actually, I do. I think you might be onto something. Obviously, they've been trying to rework the Mortal Kombat series, right? We do know that there's a new movie, the sequel, that's about to be dropping. They've already been hinting at the classic editions returning to the PS5 consoles. Maybe they're going to give you a little early dosage of making you play the old school games. And then they're like, look, next holiday season, we got the next game. Maybe they might be collaborating with that kind of nature. That would, I feel like, would be the draw to try to sucker you in. But in a sense, yeah, I'm kind of with you, HenricK. I don't know. I mean, it does look pretty cool. I mean, obviously there's no Microsoft, flight simulator. That might be kind of cool if they had that, but driving around with that. Maybe you're driving around in GTA with your little helicopter using that little fancy joystick, or Battlefield 2042, or are you in a TIE fighter in Battlefront 2 because everybody's returning? Maybe you need that joystick. Yeah. Maybe your game might get elevated, but let us know. Are you going to be rushing straight to the GameStop or Wally World or Target to be able to go and pick up Sony's very first ever fight stick? Let us know what's good. But man, let's start to wrap up the show because I know Reddit's always cooking up. Let us know, HenricK. What's cracking?
Always. Reddit is stirring the cauldron again.
Yes.
And this time, a gamer asked, what was your first holy crap, this game is huge moment? It's the kind of question that feels bigger than my entire Steam backlog combined, which it is a very big backlog. And yes, that includes games I bought in 2011 and still haven't launched because some of those exist.
Yeah. Always a free game that's always dropping every month.
Yeah, free, or sometimes I paid money for them and I just never played them.
But
that didn't stop the internet from unloading their pixel-sized epiphanies. So let's dive in.
Yeah, let's jump right on into it. The first one that we got here, class. Oh, great choice. Pokemon Silver and Gold after finishing Johto. Is that how you say it again? Johto. Gotcha. And then thinking I was done, and then boom, unlocked
Kanto region.
Yeah,
fun fact about that. They thought when they were developing the game that they were not going to be able to fit the entire Kanto region in there. And then I forget the executive's name, but a Nintendo executive came in one day and Iwata came in and he was like, I got you, hold my beer. He did it and they were amazed.
I mean, yeah, isn't that really cool to have that experience? You're going through all these, these gym master battles, and then all of a sudden you're introduced to a whole new world. Along with, I remember the television series at the time holding up very strong as well. Very awesome and exciting time. You had to be there. It was one of those kind of things. You had to be there to know what was good. And then I love it. Elden Ring. There we go. Limegrave. I thought Limegrave was the whole game. Limgrave, excuse me. And then getting teleported to Khalid is the first. Yeah. My support tool, HenricK the Wreck. Let's go for applause. You just open your map and it's like a massive blank space miles away from Limgrave, and then you're like, what the F? Yeah, I think everybody had that moment.
Honestly, even just going up to that cliffside and seeing the entirety of Limgrave, you're like, oh, wow. This place is already big.
Axel,
and then you open the map and you're like, oh, wait. I'm in like an eighth of the map right now. The map is massive.
Yeah, and then you go the wrong way.
And then you find the underground.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And if you haven't joined along, you won't be able to resonate with that, that comment. Yeah. And then I think it was the original Final Fantasy VII when I first left Midgar. I never had that experience growing up. But, you know, as much as I like to clown these remasters, because I'm just like, come on, guys, we want some original new IP. I will say, and I will admit, that was kind of like, you know, I definitely went back to YouTube clips to see, you know, the comparisons. And yeah, just to kind of feel like taking a step back in time, like as if I was Doctor Who or some shit. That was very, very like, yeah, you could tell that was quite groundbreaking back in the day. What do you got to say about that, HenricK?
I mean, this was a game that had to have 3 discs to play. So it was a big game.
Yeah, what a pain in the ass. You better not scratch it. Keep the cat in the cage, all right? And then the next one is Witcher 3. When I left White Orchard after spending hours over there, reached Valley, opened the map, and then realized White Orchard was essentially the equivalent of a tutorial area. Yeah, it seems like quite a bit of that. That's a reoccurring theme, it feels like, in a lot of video games nowadays. You know, you can definitely feel that experience when it comes to Skyrim. Whitehelm. All right, I guess I'll be hanging around this. Yeah, you go through your first,
I think it's the Barrows in that first dungeon by the first town in Skyrim. You finish it and you're like, oh, yes, that took me like an hour and a half. And then you go out and you look at the map and you're like, oh, wait, that's like one of 100.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, this is only the beginning, and thank the Lord that the developers thought about fast travel. And then you also get Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. I mean, when I first drove off into the countryside and then realized just how big the map was going to be, yeah, you knew it was going to be big once the music started to change to country music. You're like, oh, wow, the music, that's just as much of a big library. And then you get a big-ass map that comes along with it. I'm with you on that one. Yeah, that was quite massive back in the day as well. And then the last one that we got here is WoW back in 2004. I remember running around and seeing how little I moved on the continent. And then, holy crap, there's a whole other continent. You know, kind of glad I didn't experience this world because, yeah, I feel like I would have been lost in the void of my screen.
In, like so many people were, myself included, when WoW
the black hole. Exactly. I knew a lot of my friends that were sucked into the World of Warcraft, and yeah, I mean, it's a legendary game. You can't knock that away from them. But HenricK, do you remember that moment you booted up a game and thought, this thing is so freaking massive? I mean, were you in awe, excited, or just realizing that the map was just bigger than your actual hometown?
Well, for me, it was actually before World of Warcraft, because I did have a similar experience in that game of being like, whoa, this is a big game.
Yeah.
But RuneScape. Playing that
that's
in a browser.
Good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
Just having a good old time for several hours in the first few couple areas, and then being like, oh, wait, there's a gate here, and I can't go through it. Well, I have to pay $5 a month to be a member, and then if I do, I have like 10 times a bigger map to look at. What?
Yeah. More resources, more pawns. Maybe I won't get, stabbed by some other, online gamer when I'm just trying to fulfill my duty, my mission, my calling in RuneScape. Yeah, gosh, that's a great pick. I mean, a lot of these were awesome comments too, like the Pokemon one. Wow, I kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I did say this game earlier in today's show, but I would say Microsoft Flight Simulator over the years. I mean, those games have gotten really, really massive. I mean, you'd be thinking that, you could be doing a quick flyby over the Eiffel Tower or a cruise past the Statue of Liberty. You're just like a tourist, doing tourist stuff like 30,000 feet, no big deal. Yeah. And then like 3 hours later, I'm like deep in cloud cover somewhere over like South America, desperately trying to remember if Machu Picchu was a left or a right or whatever mountain I just hit. And then, like, at some point, it stopped being a game, and then I started feeling like I was earning the frequent flyer miles and possibly a pilot's license. I don't know, wishful thinking, right? But yeah, that game is completely massive over the years. They have gotten so much better year after year. And is there a game that we're missing? What is that game that you were like, holy shit, that is like, wow, do I put down the controller and really just do some deep pondering? Or do you embrace it with shield and sword in hand? Let us know what's good? But man, this has been such a jam-packed show. We have been rocking and rolling throughout this entire endeavor that we call Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. And we can't thank you, the gamers, for always tuning in live every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because without your support, gamers, this show would not be possible. So we want to highlight the QR codes one last time. So this leads you directly to my YouTube channel. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss a live show.
And you know the drill. You see that glorious, beautiful QR code right there. It goes to my YouTube channel. So don't miss out, because there's tons of content there just waiting to be watched. So go leave some comments and I will respond to you. So
that's right. Man, it's been such a great time. Thank you guys so much, gamers and girls out there around the world. We love you guys so much, man. Then for now, keep kicking ass, keep kicking butt. Don't rage quit too early, okay? We get it. We still need you in the lobby. Stick around, all right? But we'll see you next week, fam. Peace.
See ya.